Cleveland, Tennessee. Whoop FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Good morning and welcome, Debbie, my lovely co-host. It's a privilege to say so. Tell us what's going on today, Deb.
You said that just the way I wrote it, Ron. Good for you.
Yeah, right here it is. I got it on my phone.
This morning, that's a recording. This morning it's March the 22nd, 2014, and we're so happy to have Daryl Patterson here with us today, and I'm sure he and Ron are going to get into some really deep conversations about sports and all those such things. I just want to mention, I know I've had a lot of people email me about it in the last few days. We did lose a very historic house in Georgetown this week. It was the big white house that's across from the yarn company right there at the edge of Hamilton County. There was a date found on a fireplace of 1834, and it's really sad to lose a big log structure like that. I don't know what kind of fire it was, but it doesn't matter. That basically Ron and I drove out last night and gave it a good look over, and it was very sad. Apparently everything burned but the big logs, and I would think that they were pretty much destroyed too. So it's a sad day for history. I'm pretty sure that a gentleman that's name was George lived there before the removal, and that's how Georgetown got its name. We also have the fish truck is out at the Bradley Farmers Co-op on Blue Springs Road this morning, and they are selling fish to stock ponds and such. So go out there and see the bandies this morning as they provide fish for the community. And I understand, Ron, Boyd Speedway is running tonight on Saturday night. They have moved to Saturday nights.
And this is the Shamrock, I believe, is what the race is going to be there, with former at Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And so
the hot laps
going down there.
The hot laps begin at 5:45. The general admission is $17, and the children are $5. And please support dirt track racing. I think if you love racing, you'd love seeing that, because there are some big names coming in there tonight, and there'll be some good races there at Boyd Speedway.
Good morning, Daryl. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. I'm great. How about y'all?
Well, great. That's a very recognizable voice I've heard for a long time.
I retired the body, not the voice.
There you go. There you go. We're glad to have you here with us. And
I'm glad to be here.
Are you missing work yet?
No.
No.
Good answer.
No.
Even if you love your work, retirement's good, huh?
It is. It is very good. I love golf.
You love golf. Where do you golf?
Wherever they will let me. I'm a member at Eagle Bluff. I'm actually a member of Henry Lucan's 5 golf courses, and it's a plug for him. If anybody likes to play golf, you can join Eagle Bluff and the Champions Club at Ooltewah and Battlefield and Fort Oglethorpe and Valley Brook and Mott Lake. You're a member of all 5 courses.
Oh,
and
wow.
You play all
That's
5.
good.
So I've been going around to those different courses lately. Haven't set any course records yet, but nobody there has had any more fun than me.
Someone asked me about what my handicap was, and I told them golf.
Yeah, the clubs. That's my handicap.
Yeah,
clubs, the swing, but I look good.
I dress pretty good. I was playing. I used to play in a lot of tournaments. I was always the D player, of course, and there was a Mississippi State, a former guy who played for Mississippi State. And we got to a place where went down and dog leg to the right, and he said, "Well, aim to the right of that tree." And I looked at him and I says, "You can aim?" I didn't know that.
What? I thought that was in rifle range or something that you aim, not in golf.
Yeah,
Ron's excuse now is he had to loan his clubs to our son-in-law so our son-in-law could play.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
But
unfortunately, I don't have a son-in-law I can loan him to.
He says if he's not frustrated enough, he plays golf, and then he gets frustrated real fast because he said I can hit a baseball coming at me at 85 miles an hour, but I can't hit that little ball laying down on the ground.
That's not moving. Yeah,
I can't hit one now. I couldn't get the bat off my shoulder probably fast enough.
Yeah.
Dale, you grew up in Athens, Tennessee.
Born and raised in Athens, Tennessee. Yes.
Who's your parents?
Bill and Lena Patterson.
Now, are they gone now?
Yeah, Mom passed away in '94. Dad in '97.
Okay. Now, did they live? Where did they start?
Fairview.
Fairview.
Yeah. Gosh. Mom was originally from Tellico Plains. Dad was from McMinn County, from between Athens and Inglewood in that area. Mm-hmm. And they got married in the 30s. My oldest brother, my two oldest brothers, my second oldest brother just passed away day before yesterday. My oldest brother in '91, but we all lived in the little in the Fairview community, which is, I always tell people, it's right just across the hill from the Mayfield farm.
Oh, okay.
And Scotty and Tom, all the Mayfields were friends of ours since we were kids. Scotty and I grew up together. And my dad worked for Mayfield. All the Pattersons, I think, pretty much worked for Mayfield.
A lot of
forever.
people worked for. Yeah. Scotty come in and did our show. Scotty's interesting.
Was he wearing his bow tie?
He sure was.
Good. I get on to him about that when he goes out without that bow tie.
He's an interesting guy. When he
really is.
He's sort of a real quiet guy.
Yeah. He came in and sat over in the corner.
And then when we turned on the microphone, he just turns on.
Yes.
And then it was quiet, but done a really great job.
Well, and everyone enjoyed hearing the history of the dairy farms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. My dad was right there in the middle of all that when Scotty's uncle, Tom, actually his grandfather, started the thing, and then his uncle Tom and his dad Scott took over the place and actually expanded it. Dad worked for him, and my Uncle John. I remember Tom coming to my dad's funeral and crying. He said, there's few of these men left that were with us from the start. And that meant a lot. It did. And it was like, that was, growing up in Cleveland, growing up in Athens, any place like that in a smaller community, it seems that as if the whole community is family. And you make such good friends.
That's what's missing
that are lifetime
now.
Friends. Yeah,
that's missing now. We
don't
get to know
your neighbors anymore. I mean, it's now. Were you a Cherokee or a Charger? I had to ask the question.
I was a Cherokee.
All right.
At the time, I graduated in 1967 from McMinn County High School, and McMinn Central was either not open then. I think McMinn Central may have opened in '68.
Okay.
Inglewood High School burned.
Mm-hmm.
They brought the Inglewood High School students over to McMinn and gave them the bottom floor of the high school. And that's where Inglewood High School was. And then they had some classes over in the National Guard Armory. This is when the high school, McMinn High School, was what's now the McMinn Living Heritage Museum.
Right.
After I left there, they turned it into a museum. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But they put some classes over at the National Guard Armory and had the Inglewood students over there while they were combining Etowah High School and Inglewood High School into McMinn Central High School. And I do say McMinn Central High School, and that is correct because anyone who's from McMinn County can say McMinn County.
Yeah. I think my freshman football game, the coldest game I ever played in my life, was at McMinn County at the old high school in that stadium over there.
That's where I played.
You didn't report about it.
There was nothing to report.
I'll assure you, you never mentioned my name in your 40 years.
Well, I may have listened to that game on the radio. I was a kid who had a transistor radio with him all the time, and that's how. In fifth grade. I just developed this love for broadcasting, a love for radio. Used to listen to the Athens station, WLAR, all the time. Right. WLS in Chicago, WOWO in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was a guy who listened to Dick Biotti on radio on WLS in Chicago.
What about that Chattanooga station everybody listened to?
I listened to WFLI when it went on the air, probably in 61 or 62 when it went on the air. Yeah, I listened to, and Tommy Jett's a good friend of mine. I listened to him and Dale Anthony and Johnny Eagle and all those guys. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, that was...
They were a huge influence on me getting into broadcasting. Again, it was fascinating to me, and that's in 5th grade I knew that's what I wanted to do.
You know, David Carroll talks same thing. He said he's 13 years old. And
yes.
He called Tommy Jett, and Tommy Jett said,
"Hey now,
what do you do?" He says, "Well, I play a record and I talk to girls. Then I play another record and I talk to girls."
Yeah, yeah.
And then he said, Dave said, "Well, does that pay well?" And he says, "Well, not really." But Dave said, "I still want to do that."
Yeah.
Sound like a good idea.
Exactly.
So now your first you went into radio. Then right after you while you were in school.
When I was at McMinn County High School, back then, and you know this, back then you had to have a license to be in broadcasting. You had to have take a test, Federal Communications Commission, and pass elements 1, 2, and 9, the broadcast endorsement. You couldn't take that test until you were 16 years old. So the week following my 16th birthday, which is in December, I took the test. I went to Knoxville and took the test. Passed element 1, passed element 2, failed element 9. Got a waiver, retook the test in 2 weeks. In fact, I retook the test the week after Christmas. Got the little postcard in the mail a week later that said I had passed elements 1, 2, and 9. Took that card to Bill Atkins, who was general manager at WLAR in Athens, and said I passed elements 1, 2, and 9. My license is in the mail. And he said, "You're going on the air tonight." So I went on the air that night. The late Jim Perkle, Johnny and Perkle and Jim Perkle were friends of mine since childhood. Jim Perkle trained me, if you can call it trained. Jim said, "There's the mic, there's the on-air switch, that's the board, those are the turntables. You know everything else. I'm gone." Because I had already, since I was, younger, I had hung around at the station, so I knew how to do everything. And that would have been, gosh, do the math, 64, January 65 is when I started. WLAR, worked there, graduated high school, went to Dallas for a short time, where my brother was, who just passed away, lived in Dallas. He was sales manager at the station in Dallas, and I went to work there at an FM station in Dallas, worked there for a little while, came back to Athens, worked at LAR again, worked at WYXI again, and then was at LAR when I moved to Chattanooga in 1973, worked at WDOD in 1973, started at DOD playing gospel music on FM, then moved over to the country music station on AM, left there in 1974, actually, they called and asked me if I wanted to do the 11 o'clock sportscast on Channel 9. Bill McAfee, who was doing sports at that time, didn't want to do the 11 o'clock show anymore. So they called me and asked me to do the 11 o'clock, which I did. I did it up until basketball season. I was broadcasting UTC's basketball games. I was doing play-by-play. So when I got basketball season, I couldn't do radio anymore, or couldn't do TV anymore. So I went back to radio, did the whole thing. I got a call again in May, probably April or May of the following year, and McAfee had decided he wanted to pursue a career in politics and get out of it, so they called me, and I took the sports director's job June 5th, 1975, and worked there until December 12th, whatever last year was, 2013. And the reason I worked till December 12th is December 13th was my 65th birthday, and it was like, I'm retiring. I'm ready. I'm ready to get out and retire.
Well, and television's pretty hard work. Somebody think it's glamorous, but you have to be there early.
You have to find stuff to talk about.
And you have to be there late.
Yeah. You in television, like you said, Ron, so many people think, well, it's you go in, and I've had people ask me this. You're on the air at 6 and 11 o'clock. What do you do, go in about 5 o'clock? Yeah, right. No. I would go to work anywhere between noon and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If I got there after 2 o'clock, I was late. Because you do have to return phone calls. You have to do all the piddly stuff first, then start looking at what you're going to put on the air at 6 o'clock. And it takes, as a rule of thumb, it takes about 1 hour to prepare 1 minute of what you're going to do on the air. That's researching, writing, and editing that particular story. And then you're there until, and the long, football is my favorite sport, and football season is my favorite season. We put in a ton of effort into high school football coverage. We did 20, 30-minute shows on high school football for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years that I was there. That takes up 12, that's a 12-hour day at least every day, because there's so much preparation that goes into that show. And then in the last couple of years, the TV station has, as most TV stations have become, is very, the word is automated, and it's automated after all of the other work is done.
Right.
Then it becomes, but you have to prepare the automation, you have to prepare the scripts, you have to prepare the coding, you have to do everything else that's the technical part of it. And that just takes a long time. Plus, we're doing the 10 o'clock show for Fox 61, and that's another 20-minute show that you have to put together. Then we started doing the live telecast of games on Friday night, and a half-hour show for that. That's another show that, and guess who gets to put all of these shows together? And it was very taxing. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and it's football season just got to the point where, it wore me out. It was so invigorating because I loved it so much and I loved what I did. But come November and December, I'm just tired.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then you get through basketball, and if you covered wrestling, if you do, I think what the harder part is, I think, Friday night, a lot of editing real quick.
Yep.
It's amazing how quick you can edit those films and get them there. I'm always amazed by that.
That's one of the things that changed so much in the years that I was there. I recall way back a long time ago when we were, before videotape, when we were still shooting film. I can't remember which team it was, but this would have been late 70s, probably late 70s. We had a local team playing at Oak Ridge, I think maybe in a playoff game or something. I just remember going to the airport. We reserved a plane, took my film camera, went to the airport here, got on a little crop duster, flew up to Knoxville, had a car pick me up there, drive me to that ball game. I was able to shoot probably 8 plays. First down, second down, third down, punt. First down, second down, third down, punt. Then I had to get back in the car, back to the airport, because I had to be back in Chattanooga at 10 o'clock at the latest to get that film, and it was film, to get it in the soup, in the processor, to be processed, then to get cut and edited, which I had to do, by 11:15, in addition to writing the scripts, putting all the scoreboards and everything together. Now, the way the things have changed so much is everything is, there is no such thing as film anymore. There's no videotape anymore. It's all, the video is shot on a card. You come back in, you ingest the video, and our photographers, they did all that. The way it is now, the photographer goes and shoots, and what we did was we had 4 photographers shoot 2 games each. That gave us 8 games, and we had 1 game that we did live, and then 1 other game was a feature game or something, but we had a 5th photographer that shot another game, so we would have at least 9, if not 10 videos on every night. Those photographers all shot the video. They come back into the building, ingest the video, and then they go through it, and it's so easy now to go pick out the play, because as you're shooting, you can mark a play with color bars, and they can go right to that play. Boom, 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 boom. Well, you got 2 plays edited that quickly. That's how quick it is. That's one of the things that changed so dramatically in the television business, that it made it a little bit, but to that degree, comparing that to the days of film, made it so much easier.
And getting the script written for it, too, because something appears on the screen and doesn't mean you know what it was.
No.
You weren't at every one of those games.
The script for something like that is, the Bradley Central Bears hosted the Cleveland Blue Raiders tonight, ad lib. That's what your script says. That's what I see on the teleprompter. In my hand is 5x7 note card that I've made my notes on. And as I go along, I'm writing a script from those notes. And at the lower right-hand corner is a big circle with the final score on the game. So that's for the games you're doing, 9 or 10 games, it's on note cards that you have made throughout the night. The photographer will either call or text during the game to let the game that he's at and this is the voicemail that I will get is, "This is Barry. I know which game Barry is at. Yeah. Number 21 Cleveland, 15-yard run, 7-0 first quarter." His next voice, "This is Barry. Number 13 Bradley passes to number 81, 65 yards, 7-7 first quarter." Well, that may not mean anything to a whole lot of people, but to me it does. Yeah. I have a roster. I look that up, who's doing what, put that on my note card. That note card I don't see again until 11:15. And I don't know how the guys at the other TV stations did it. That was a self-trained, just a way that I did it. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but I never found that better
Sounds
way.
Pretty good. I've worked with a little TV station here, WTMB, and our marker is we put our hand in front of the camera, and we know that's it. Something to reference. But I think the harder thing is on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, you still have to fill that thing. So you're running specials. You're getting little fill clips. I don't know what you call them. But like you done an interview with some kid and you don't have any time. That's a great time to play it, right?
Normally it's planned. I mean, you know what you're going to do when you go out and do a story, you go out and do an interview or something like that. You know you're going to either run it that day, that night, the next day, or the next. You know when you're going to run it. If you do something, and I've done, and we all do, we do stories that are essentially a hold story. We'll go out and shoot an interview, and we'll shoot a whole lot of video. That's not easily what's called turned around in an hour's time, because I mean there's a lot of writing involved in it, a lot of special editing and that sort of stuff. So you're going to hold that for 2 or 3 days, but you know that on Thursday at 6 o'clock or Thursday at 11 you're going to run that particular story. Well, you got to work on that for 3 days. You got to write part of it. You have to listen to the interview. You have to what we call log the interview, so that you know where. I mean, you interview somebody for 30 or 45 minutes. You don't remember that entire interview, and even if you do remember every word that person said in the order that person said it, you don't know where that is by time code. Which when you go back to look at it and put it in, you have to have a time code for it. So as you're listening to that interview, you're writing down the time code. Oh, that's a great soundbite right there. Mm-hmm. You write down the time code. Then that is a good soundbite. I need to use that soundbite. Now I have to write to that soundbite so that all of this makes sense to the viewer when they see and hear it.
And it looks so simple when they hear.
Oh, it is very simple.
One of the craziest things I ever saw at high school football, as we went up to the Copper Basin, and Taft Correctional Center was playing Copper Basin, and I couldn't quite get over the dogs and the guns.
Yes, and the bars on the bus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is not a good thing.
Hey, that was unique when Taft had a ball.
We're going to open the telephone lines here. You can call us here at 614-5553. We have Daryl Patterson, who doesn't do anything anymore except play golf. He used to be with Channel 9 for a few years.
Well, when the weather gets better, I'll be doing yard work.
My
yard. Yeah. No, I'm not hiring myself out.
So, and see, the light flashes no more when we turn on the phones. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Bullet.
Good morning, Bullet.
What's up, buddy?
Didn't I meet you at a football game a long time under a tree or something?
Talked to it a little bit.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
I wanted to
Polk County game, wasn't it?
You know a friend of my family, Benny Monroe.
Do I know Benny Monroe?
Oh, yeah.
My earliest childhood memory, and I hope Benny is listening, my earliest childhood memory is of my daddy carrying me in his arms to watch Benny Monroe play quarterback at McMinn County High School in Athens. I've told that story about Benny many times. Benny's been a friend of mine I'm 65. I guess 50 years Benny and I have been friends.
Benny's 80-something now, isn't he?
At least. Benny, I love you.
Well, I have never told this story before, and I'm going to tell it real fast to you, Darryl, since he's a friend of my family's. When my dad was in the hospital in ICU back in '98 at Cleveland Community Hospital, I called Benny, and he actually come to over there, and nurses wasn't going to let him go in there, but they said, "Are you family?" And Benny said, "Yeah, I'm family." Yeah. And he went back there and visited my dad, and he's been a friend of me and my family ever since, well, I guess 35, 40 years, I guess. And but he actually come to my dad's funeral, and I respect that, and I'll never forget that.
Benny is one of the best. He's always been one of my favorites. Seriously, the first high school football game I ever remember going to, the only part of that story I told about Benny that is not true is the part about my daddy carrying me in his arms. Okay. I actually walked. I knew how to walk at that time. But Benny played quarterback at McMinn County High School, probably late 50s, early 60s. Went, I think, to Kentucky for a little bit and then went to Maryville College. He was a little All-American at Maryville. Yeah. He was the offensive coach and coordinator for the Maryville Rebels back when they won, 20-something straight football championships. Then Benny came back to McMinn County High School, 1972 probably, and I was fortunate, and I mean it when I say fortunate. I was doing McMinn County's games on radio then when Benny came back, so I got to do 1 year. Let me rephrase that. I had to sit through 1 year of Benny Monroe and John Mullinax together.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, because Johnny was some kind of coordinator for the Cherokees back then when Benny was coaching it. Yeah, Benny and I have, he and Jane have been friends of mine for a long time.
I think Benny will come to my funeral just to make sure I'm dead. I'm not sure. I'm a bear. So,
Before I let you go, Darryl, I'm going to say that I miss you being on the sports. I watched you all these years, and I know you miss Bob Johnson, Mary Ellen Loker. And
oh, yeah. I talk to Bob at least once or twice a month, and him, and Welch are going to get together soon and probably tell some lies and stories.
All right, good talking to you, and you have a good day.
You too, Bullet. Appreciate you calling.
Okay, bye, Bullet.
Was you ever on the Bob Brandy show?
No, never was.
But you got to know Bob.
I went to Bob. Oh gosh, yeah. Bob was another good friend of mine. Of course, working with him and Marcia Kling were just. I never was on Marcia's show. Being from Athens, you didn't get out much. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, but Bob would take his show on the road. He used to come to the Strand Theater in Athens. And I used to go to those Bob Brandy road shows up in Athens. So That was fun. I
What are
see
you
that on
doing
the
over there,
I
Ron?
see that on the webcam up there. You've got some of the old pictures.
I've got
It's
better
kind of
ones.
like the history of men's hairstyles. It's Daryl's life.
Yeah, that's one of them. Hey, you like that slicked over look
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, caller. You're live. Are you there,
Good
caller?
morning.
Nope, I lost that one.
Sorry, call back.
My cord is tangled around the bottom of my chair.
Ron, do I need to come over and run the board for you?
I need some
Hey.
help. Yeah. Good morning, you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hello, Ron.
Hey, Miss Ella.
Hey, Miss Ella.
Hey.
Did you go to Pokey's last night and hear Fro?
Yeah, I did. And I appreciate Mark paying my way. I want to say that on the radio.
Well, that was very nice of him.
Yes, it was.
He just does that so he can watch you dance, you know.
And Daryl, she's a cougar, so you're in her age range.
She's a oh.
I'm a little bit older, though.
Well, don't
Well,
say
that's
that. Don't say that loud. My wife may come over here, and
Be concerned.
yeah, she might be.
How many beers last night?
That song that you played as y'all was coming on the air, thank you, Lord, for your blessing on me. I taped it on my phone.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
good.
that's some lady locally that works over at the Coca-Cola plant, and her last name is True Love. Ron, do you remember her first name? Joanne, maybe. But so someone brought her disc by this morning, and we like to play local music, and that was Joanne True Love that works over at the Coca-Cola plant. So we're glad you enjoyed that, Miss Ella.
Hey, I want to tell you about my CD. I got a CD that wouldn't play on nobody's record player, but it plays on my TV. A CD plays on my TV.
Is it a DVD, maybe?
Or is it a record?
I don't know.
Ah, well,
Anyway, Bob.
It's a miracle.
Uncle Bob that calls in.
yeah.
He was there. He said he's going to take me a ride on his motorcycle.
Whoa.
Be careful now. I know Bob. And he's a mean man now.
He might pop some wheelies.
Yeah, I know, and I'd be scared today. I'm talking
Hey,
about a heart attack.
You just want to hold on. I know you.
Well, I got this problem, and I don't know what you're going to do about it. I got to find the paper they gave me for an appointment, and I don't know what I've done with it. So Monday I got to call them back and find out. I bought me a couch and a chair the other day, but I ain't got nobody to deliver it up here.
Well, one of our listeners will come over and get it for you. I know our listeners. They'll come get that couch for you.
I hope so, because I hate to let it go and have to get my money back.
Now, do you know Matador's? You know that Froday is going to be at the Legion tonight, don't you?
Yeah, but I ain't got the money.
Well, maybe Bob will take you on that motorcycle over there.
But he's going to be at the American Legion tonight with the convertibles.
Hey, we'll see, Miss Ella. Well, somebody will call us and get that couch for you.
All righty, Miss Ella. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bob Brandy. We was talking about Bob.
Yeah, I used to go to his shows at Strand Theater in Athens, and then when I went to work, of course, from Channel 9, Bob became a good friend, real good friend. I miss him.
He was a rock star.
He
around
was.
here. I mean, he opened.
In his day, he was. He really
he
was.
opened this village, the village shopping center, and you couldn't get close. And then right across the street was a MC Hedrick's, and he come and opened that, and you couldn't get close.
Yeah.
I mean, Deb. We have a picture of Deb sitting on Rebel when she was like 5, and then she, just a great guy. Everything.
He was a good guy.
His grandson lives here.
He was. Bob was. A lot of people didn't know this because people would mention, would ask me if I knew Marcia Kling and Bob Brandy, and it was like, yeah, I work with them. I see them every day. And it's like, you see Bob Brandy every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, he worked in our sales department. He died of a heart attack, and he was at work on Friday, I guess, and had a heart attack over the weekend.
The second show we ever did, Marcia called our station. We'd rate
what
them.
what
a
they,
ball.
I mean, anybody that does not believe in saints and angels never met Marcia Kling.
And I sing, happy birthday, Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Oh, I remember the Happy Birthday song.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yes. Daryl Patterson, love you. No one can ever replace you.
Thank you.
They can be as good as you, but they'll never be better than you.
Well, thank you so much.
And I want to know, what was Bob Brandy's horse's name?
Rebel.
Rebel.
Yeah.
Rebel.
I could not come up with
Yep.
it. I knew it was something I would remember as soon as I heard
Rebel.
it.
Yeah, it was
Beautiful
Rebel.
horse.
Yeah.
Yes. What happened to the horse?
Died of old age, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I heard the story, but I can't recall. He thought about doing a trigger with it, and stuffing it and keeping it, but he did not. But he buried the horse. I want to say that he buried the horse somewhere, bought a burial plot for it, but I just don't recall for sure.
Well, we had a listener that called in when we were talking about Bob one time, and she had house sat for him while he went on vacation one time, and while he was gone, his poodle died.
Tana Davis, you know Tana.
Tana.
Oh, yeah. I
And
know
Tana
Tana.
put the poodle in the freezer till Bob got home because she couldn't figure out what she should do with it.
That's so Tana.
So poor Bob comes home to find out his dog's in the freezer. She didn't kill it or anything. I think it just died of old age.
Oh, cool. And that was his wife on the show with him also.
Oh, yeah, Miss Ingrid.
Yeah, Miss Ingrid at the time, who also passed. They're all gone now. They're all gone.
His grandson lives here in Cleveland.
Bob's grandson,
Mark.
Brandenburg.
Mark Brandenburg lives over
family name. Yeah.
Lives off Peerless Road over here.
Wow. Very good.
I can't get him to call in and talk about him yet, though.
Somebody call him.
Yeah,
Tell him
that's
to
what
call
we
him.
need to do. Thank
All
you.
righty. Thank you, dear, for calling.
Thanks much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
We got you another picture up here to look at.
Oh, yeah. Boy, that's, again, I'm styling and profiling there.
Oh, I'm saving some of the better ones for later.
You know what amazes me is so many people stayed with that station for such a long period of time. I think that's really unusual in the industry.
It's very unusual for, me being there almost 40 years. Same thing with Bob Johnson, Don Welch. There are so many other people who, not only on the air, but behind the scenes too, that were there, that were and are there for such a long time. We always touted this thing of, we were a family station and that sort of thing. And we truly liked each other. Now, there were some people that I worked with that I didn't care too much for. Mm-hmm. And there were people that I worked with that simply because of work schedules and that. So, the TV station in its heyday probably had 100+ employees, but through attrition and whatever else, down to 60-something, and then they're building back up now and adding positions. But I worked with people whose names I don't know. I didn't know them at the time, and I don't remember them now.
It's such a busy schedule.
It is, and you work a different schedule. That was the thing about me and I've known Don Welch since Don was at Channel 3 many years ago when I was still in Athens before I got into television, working at WYXI Radio. Jerry Wilson, who used to work at WBAC and WCLE, both here in Cleveland, worked in Athens at WLAR and was the Channel 3 stringer in Athens. Back in the day when it was film, he would shoot stuff in Athens. Well, Jerry came to Chattanooga, went to work for Channel 3. They needed a stringer in Athens. Jerry recommended me. Don Welch, who in Fred Galt was the news director at the time, came to Athens to WYXI. That's when I met Don, and we've been friends ever since. And he worked for so many years the morning show. So he came to work at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he was gone by noon. I didn't see him every day because I didn't go to work until 2 o'clock, and unless he stayed longer or I went in earlier, I didn't see Don every day. But Bob I saw every day, and so many others. Mary Ellen was so sweet.
Yeah. Listener?
Tamara Lister worked for us and Tamara is still a good friend. She and her husband own the famous Dave's franchises in Chattanooga and in Nashville.
I did not know
yes.
that.
Oh, I knew that.
Tamara's still a good friend. When I used to have my benefit golf tournament, I needed somebody to cater it for nothing. Called Tamara,
nice.
and she said, "We're in. We'll do it."
I have helped keep her in business. Anytime there's barbecue, I'm going to be there. And speaking of that, our good friends Barry Shook and his partners, they reopened Stadium Barbecue Friday night. Friday.
They burned out
And
3 months
the
ago.
new-
Really?
To rebuild.
And so we went by last night and seen half of
Ooh,
Cleveland
and it
there.
was hopping.
And they run out of, they've got banana pudding fried pies.
Oh, that's against the law.
It
in
is.
30 states.
Oh, it is. I'll guarantee you.
wow.
And they run out of the banana pudding last night, and they still had apple, and people were reserving them early when they got there. And they're so amazing. But the barbecue is really great. Stadium Barbecue. It's on Key Street. I don't know the address there. It's next to the old
It's
Benton
next
Pontiac.
to Midas.
Yes.
I heard a story yesterday. Heard some news yesterday that the Western Sizzlin Steakhouse in Athens
Burned to the ground.
not burned to the ground. It was gutted. The brick is still
They
there.
had just remodeled.
And the owner is going to. He said he'll reopen in 90 days.
We were just
that
talking
place has
about-
been there 30-something years.
We were just
I've
talking
been there
about
a
them
few
the other
times.
day.
Go ahead, Caller. You live on Old Town Cleveland.
Morning, Ron.
Good morning. Hey, Neil.
Howdy. Talking about the broadcasters staying for years and years, I like that. I like the familiar faces on TV. And something else that I like about Channel 9, like when Bob Johnson retired, they didn't go whiz bang and get somebody, from out of state, whatever. They already had people there that could handle the job and allowed them to proceed with it.
Yes, I noticed that also.
And I like that about it. Another thing I've noticed, too, particularly in recent years, is how many young broadcasters that Channel 9 will maybe giving them their first chance. And they all do a great job, too. And
that's one of the things that's changed in the business through the years. It used to be that Channel 9 was a second job station or a third job. You had to have experience somewhere working at a broadcast television station before you could even come in for an interview. Yeah. That's changed in two different ways. It's changed, I think. Now, I didn't hire or fire anybody. I didn't. That was way above my pay grade. But I do know that now in the folks you go after as journalists, the colleges and the universities are doing such a better job of training the people. Most of the colleges and universities now have their own television station in-house. So those people who come to work that they hire already have essentially 2 years of experience having worked in a college station. So it's not as if the people that are now being hired are green just out of, they are green and just out of college in some cases, but they've worked essentially 2 years on the college station, so that makes a big difference. Plus, bottom line with anything is they work cheaper. You get somebody, anybody who's worked at a TV station for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, do the math.
Yeah.
They're going to cost you dollar-wise more money than somebody just out of college. You get to the point where with a sports team or anything else, you get to a point where you just can't afford to have all of these people anymore.
You know how I figure out who's the low man on the totem pole? That would be the person standing over at Mont Eagle in the snow, showing everybody that it's snowing 3 snowflakes.
You get the night shift.
You get the night shift, and you get to stand out and talk about the weather.
Yeah, but now the people are so much better. I mean, the recent hires that they made at Channel 9 before I left, and the people that I know now, they've hired several people since then, since I left in December, because I said they're building their staff back up now. These people that came to work there were so much better than the people we hired 20 years ago who had worked 2 or 3 years in another market
or
somewhere.
a young guy from Athens.
Or a young guy from Athens who had no broadcast experience at all in television.
The good deal with these young broadcasters is that they are given the opportunity, and it's enabling them to start to build a resume.
Yep. The downside of that is that sometimes those folks will. It's like the Kentucky basketball team. They may be one and done. They may work one contract, which is normally in our business. I think some people now even sign a 1-year contract. But most of them, I think the commonplace now is a 2-year contract when you originally hire somebody. So in 2 years, they're going to be gone, and they're going to be moving from a Chattanooga maybe to a Nashville, maybe to a Charlotte. Charlotte's we've had people from our station who have made that jump. And in this world of broadcasting, to move from Chattanooga to Charlotte, that's a pretty big jump. Chattanooga is market probably 80-ish, about the 80th largest television market in the country. Charlotte is like top 15 or top 20. That's a big jump. That's like going from minor leagues to major leagues overnight.
I always loved it when the small station that Oprah Winfrey worked for told her that she would never make it in broadcasting.
In Nashville, yeah.
I always enjoyed your sportscast. I always
Thank you.
Humor. And it was very evident that you enjoyed and were enthusiastic about what you were doing.
I loved it. I really did. And I would not have gone back to work every day doing the same thing. It does get monotonous after a while. But I absolutely – there were parts of my job that I did not like those 12 and 13-hour days. I didn't like that a whole lot. But it was – I guess you go on adrenaline or something, and that part of it, and the end result is what I enjoyed so much. And I loved everything about it. Even the monotonous parts, I liked it. Didn't love it, but I liked it.
Thank you, Neil.
Bye, Neil.
Thank you so much.
Neil's
one of the things that most people don't realize that what costs Channel 3, 9, and 12, and 61, the most money is the news department.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I mean,
yes.
Basically, that is all your expense.
It's the 800-pound gorilla. The
ads that run on during your commercials don't even start to pay for it. It takes all the rest of the money, right?
Usually the cost of a commercial, and I don't know this because I didn't work in sales, so what I know by that is osmosis. Maybe Tana will call and tell us. But the cost of a commercial in a 6 o'clock newscast and an 11 o'clock newscast are the most expensive commercials that you have in your broadcast day. When Oprah was on, that was a high dollar commercial. The commercials in the 5 o'clock and the 5:30 newscast, not quite as expensive. It's the 6 and 11 o'clock shows that drive the money, because that's when you have your biggest audience, and that it follows that your most expensive commercial would be there. And gosh, I have no idea what a 30-second commercial costs.
Well, I don't either anymore. But I just knew, added it up that what happened between 6 and 6:30 did not pay what happens.
No, it's
when you have to go out and buy a satellite truck. Cameras are not cheap.
No, cameras are.
And when the good thing or the bad thing for the station is when you have people that's been there 30, 40 years, you got a raise every year. Well, I hope you got a raise every year, every 20 years.
At some point, that stops.
Yes.
It freezes at a certain point where you essentially hit the ceiling.
Yeah, it's the market control.
Exactly.
I mean, your market.
You then have to make a decision. Do I want to stay where I am without a raise, or do I want to move somewhere else?
Charlotte or
Atlanta,
Dallas, back to Dallas,
where it costs so much more to live.
And you're not familiar. Hey, go ahead, caller.
Hey, Ron, Debbie, Tom Rowland. I want to say good morning to Daryl.
Mayor, how are you?
Ooh, let the lies begin.
Now, Tom, you and I had an agreement a long time ago that you wouldn't tell what you knew if I wouldn't tell what I knew, okay?
Daryl, I've kept most of it.
Attaboy.
The statute of limitations is out. So I'm going to be sharing that pretty soon in my new book. But I'm surprised, Ron David, that Daryl's up at his age, retired and everything. Who brought him there this morning?
He came in an ambulance.
Oh, good then.
I've got a full security crew, Mayor.
He sounds a little aged, but other than that, I think he's going to make it.
Let me tell you some Tom Rowland stories.
Go ahead.
When I was a young, you remember when my dad was carrying me to those Benny Monroe football games? I was listening to Tom Rowland on WCLE in Cleveland. I go back and forth between Tom Rowland on WCLE and Luther Massengale on WDEF down in Chattanooga. And I think Tom, you're about, what, 4 or 5 years older than Luther?
About 6 years older than Luther. Yes, both of us are centurions. I'll let you go, but Daryl, it's good to talk with you.
Always good to talk to you, Mayor.
Hey, Tom, I know that he had some people that sort of influenced him, and Tom sort of influenced my radio career. I didn't start till I was 55, though.
Yeah.
It takes a little longer with some folks, right, Tom?
Daryl, thank you for a great career and what you've meant to so many viewers in this area. I know that you're a standard and never be replaced.
Tom, I appreciate that so much. I mentioned Jerry Wilson a little earlier. Remember Jerry back?
Yes, I heard you talk about Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, when Jerry went to Channel 3, he called me and he says, at TV, when you call the weatherman, he'll answer the phone. They won't for radio, but they will for TV. Okay, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Hope to see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Will do.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
How did the camera people change from when you went to work there in the early 70s to when you left?
Well,
how did the cameras change?
That's what I
the
mean.
camera,
That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's all. That's that's an evolutionary process as well. Again, when I started, it was film, and the film cameras ranged from the old Bell and the camera that I had in Athens as a stringer was a silent camera. It didn't shoot sound. It was a Bell and Howell 16 millimeter camera that was about the size of that. Maybe there's a camera bag over here, about your average camera bag. Maybe not that. I mean, you could hold it in your hand very easily. You progress from that to one of the sound cameras, which was a little bit bigger. These are the kind that you see in a lot of old black and white newsreel footage of those things. Then you go to videotape. That's when things really started changing. Videotape cameras were the kind you had on your shoulder, and they were huge, weighed probably 17, 18 pounds. That's the camera. Then you had the recorder, which was in a pack that you had to carry on your other shoulder, and it weighed as much as the camera did. That's where the video, that was 3/4-inch videotape. Then they went to the camera pack, where you go from the 3/4-inch tape to a 1/2-inch tape, and that was inside the camera. Then you go from that to like a DVC Pro, which is still tape, and it's even smaller. It's about the size of an old audio cassette. Mm-hmm. Right. To now, you're back to about the weight of that old Bell and Howell camera. It's still a little bit bigger. I mean, you can't tell by looking at a camera now if that's a tape camera or if that's a chip or a camera.
Amazing,
but that's what
stuff
everything
now.
is now. You won't find, and that's the thing about archiving stuff. At Channel 9, our archive tapes were 3/4-inch and 1/2-inch. We had gotten to the point where we were running out of machines to play those tapes on just to get the video off of them. When I retired, one of the things I wanted to do was to go back through, I used to have the number, but I have now forgotten it, probably 700 tapes of archive stories that I've done and video that I've run on the air. I wanted to go back and make a copy of those to DVD so I could take them home and look at them somewhere down the road. Well, you open a tape box and you look at what's called the slug sheet in there as to what the stories were. You lay that tape aside. Okay, I've got 10 tapes. Now I need to go back to the only 3/4-inch machine in the building that will still work because you can't get parts for that machine anymore. You can't keep it running and then go back and play those tapes. And because of the way when you store a tape, it gets oxidized.
Gets that white powdery looking stuff
and
on it.
That gets on the head of the player. You can play one tape, maybe fast forward it, rewind it, dub a piece off, take that tape out, put another tape in. It won't play because there's dirt on the head. You have to clean the head each time. That was such a long process. But now you don't have to do that anymore.
Go ahead, caller.
Yes, I wanted to ask Daryl 2 questions. I'm going to hang up and listen to his answer.
Okay, Doug.
Have you ever eaten at Brownies in Athens? And then I want you to talk about some of the outstanding athletes in football that you've covered over the years.
Sounds good.
I have eaten at Brownies. I knew the Brown family.
Doug.
I went to school with some of the daughters of the Brownies was and still is, I understand, a tradition in Athens on Highway 11 bypass, Congress Parkway, across from the Holiday Motel.
Been there,
done that. Yeah. The Brown brothers were something else. They were cool. The people I've covered, wow. Some of the most outstanding. I'll keep it local instead of. I'll keep it local and regional. Some of the people that I enjoyed covering. I would start with like Tennessee football and going back to when Johnny Majors was the head coach. Shazan Bradley played up there. Shazan is still a good friend of mine. Played at McMinn County. Went on to Tennessee. State wrestling champion.
Yeah. First one for Athens.
And then there's Dale Jones, Chris White that played here at Cleveland, and Bradley that were on the Sugar Bowl championship team, the team that beat Miami, Vinny Testaverde.
Yes.
And I was at that game in New Orleans. Such an exciting time. Those were guys that I enjoyed covering. A lot of kids.
C.J. Black basketball down in Brainerd.
And Orlando Lightfoot, one of the best local high school players. Malcolm Mackey that played basketball. 2 guys. An interesting story here. In some of the some friends of mine, I have some old reel-to-reel tapes at my house that were air check tapes from when I worked at WDOD. And among those tapes were Howard Riverside basketball games.
Oh.
One of them from a state tournament or a region tournament over at Motlow State Community College. And I am listening to this. I got a friend of mine who had a reel-to-reel player, was able to dub this off, and it's like I had forgotten about it. This was when Anthony Roberts played at Riverside and when Gerald Cunningham played at Howard. And guys, I'm listening to those tapes one day driving in the car with my wife, and I hadn't heard these or thought about them in years. And this would have been 1973 or 4 or 5. I'm listening to the tape, and it's Howard has the ball. Wendell Poole brings the ball up court, passes it over to Cunningham, back to Poole, setting up the fast break, moving here, moving there. The pass over to Usher, back over to here. And I looked at my wife and I said, Usher? And then later I'm listening to the tape and it's like Usher Raymond here and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at my wife and I said, honey, I broadcast basketball games when Usher played at Howard.
I love it.
She said, I don't think that would be the Usher that everyone would know now.
Maybe
that would
different.
be his dad.
Daddy.
Wow.
His dad played at Howard.
Usher would probably love to hear those.
Usher was not even born in 1973, and I'm thinking, me and Usher go way back.
I tell you, that that era right there with Riverside and Howard.
Oh, wow.
McMinn County and Bradley had some of the best games.
Yes, they did.
That was Dennis Bott's era.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Arwines.
Yeah.
There was an Arwine that was there Arwines.
It was a rule. It was a county rule in McMinn County. You had to have an Arwine or a McCowan
or Grubbs on the football team.
Well, yeah. Well, that was predated.
Yeah.
That was back when Wayne and Johnny and all those guys. Interesting. Just a week ago, I know that Bradley had their Hall of Fame induction. Bradley High School. So did McMinn County.
Yeah.
At McMinn County, Phil Pierce, who was my quarterback when I played high school at McMinn County, and Phil, I love you, but I wish you'd have thrown me at least one pass that I could catch. Phil Pierce went into the Hall of Fame. Mike Reynolds, who just passed away. Mike Reynolds led McMinn County to a 72-7 win over Bradley when Bradley was unbeaten and ranked number 1 in the state in 1960.
Yes. We remember.
Mike just passed away. He was named to the Hall of Fame, as well as Johnny Grubb and Wayne Grubb, who both played, and I don't know that Wayne ever coached at McMinn, but I mean, those were, with the exception of Pierce, that was before my time. But the Grubbs and the Arwines. Oh yeah.
Great, and just the Arwine that played in '72 could jump higher than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then we had Alvin Scott, who went on to play for the Phoenix Suns. Alvin's a good friend of ours, and the athletes, you could sit here all day long.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we had a show where we had some people come in, just started naming athletes. What was our top 10 football players? And
that would be. I hate when people do that, when they compile a list of best players. I mean, we're just sitting here just off the top of our head. We hadn't even mentioned yet those consecutive state championship teams that Benny Monroe coached at Cleveland High School.
The wing T never ran better by anybody in it was a science.
And the players, and I mean, I would have to actually, there have been so many that going back and calling names of the guys.
The Cobb twins.
Yeah.
Went and played for Memphis. And
did a good job at Memphis, and I still think his knee was on the ground.
Yeah.
I still think his knee was on the ground.
I heard you say that several times. Hey, we need to take a break. We'll be back here in just a few minutes, folks. You're on Old Town Cleveland. We got Daryl Patterson here. We'll be back in a few.
WOOP, LP, Cleveland, Tennessee.
You need money overnight? Check into cash. Your time is tight. .com. Bank account's too low? Check into cash. So where do you go? .com. Do it online in a record time. It's the easy way to get money next day. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. Just stay in the house. Check into cash and grab your mouse. .com. Get your money online. Check into cash right on time. .com. You can be sure it's secure from our bank straight to yours. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. No time to get away. Check into cash. You've got to stay home.com. Hey, that's okay. Check into cash. You can do it alone.com. Any old time, do it online. Just stay in the house and grab your mouse. Do a quick click from home. Get your money overnight at the right website. Do a quick click from home. Go to checkintocash.com.
Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750. Kiesler Incorporated is in the business of recycling your metal, and they pay cash. The only covered scrapyard around where you can recycle rain or shine. They're located off the bypass on Overhead Bridge Road. Automobiles, appliances, copper, stainless steel, tin, all metals can be recycled at Kiesler, and you can walk away with cash. That's right, they pay cash, and they are the friendliest scrapyard in the Southeast. If you have unwanted metal just laying around, bring it to Kiesler Recycling today and walk away with cash. Kiesler Recycling open Monday through Saturday, 7:30 to 5, or call for more details, 614-3000.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bartley Norton, brother of Sandra Knight. I would just like to take this opportunity to ask for your vote as she is running for road superintendent. She's the only person that I know that has ever won Engineer of the Year twice for the state of Tennessee. If you're looking for someone with the brains and the bronze, then you need to look for my sister, because I can tell you she will pave the road of the future, and she is the best choice for the job. Please join me in voting for Sandra Knight for road superintendent.
Paid for by the committee to elect Sandra Knight, County Road Superintendent. Tina Bishop, Treasurer.
The songbirds are singing, the dell seem to say, gone. They have gone home. Gone. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home.
Welcome back to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Every week we play the song Gone Home in honor of all those who've gone home. And Daryl, we'll include your brother in that list here this week.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
You know, it's and we always try to tell people, always write down the get your family members to write down on the pictures who's in the pictures. Yep. And because when someone passes on, their history is gone a lot of times. So
put that on the back of the picture and put the year that the picture was made.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing what some old picture will do that. While we were on break, I'm going to tell on Benny Monroe. Benny actually called in and you know, he wouldn't talk on the air. You know, I don't know what kind of lies him and Daryl were telling over here or trying to story.
We were just setting the golf.
Setting the golf. Oh, that's good. Everything. And say hello to Benny Monroe.
It was good to touch base with Benny. I had not seen Benny since the 12th of December, since we had my retirement show at the station. Hadn't seen him since then. And when you handed I got to tell folks the story. Ron hands the phone to me, and he said, Benny Monroe wants to talk to you. And when I heard Benny's voice, I said, Benny, did you know that my earliest childhood memory is of my daddy carrying me? Benny said, you are wearing me out with that story. When they dedicated the football stadium here and named it after Benny, they asked me to MC it. Yeah. I told the Benny Monroe story. He asked me to come and MC one of his high school football banquets when he was coaching at Cleveland. That's the first time I told the Benny Monroe story, and I have told that Benny Monroe story. Benny just told me now, let's put that to rest.
Benny, what you don't know is when I said this is Benny, Daryl sort of waving his hands no, but I made him take the phone anyway.
Benny was, I'll embellish Benny a little bit because of our friendship.
That means lie to all of our country
That means make up stories. Yeah. Benny, again, born and raised in Athens like I was. Benny went to Mars Hill Presbyterian Church. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
I always thought that Benny coached football. Benny was like a riverboat gambler, and he kind of, I think, probably played the same way. Create plays and do things in his mind as he goes along. However the game presents itself, that's what he will do. He will, if he needs to invent or create a play during the game, he can do that. He is that good. Who else did I describe? Steve Spurrier, maybe? Steve Spurrier. His dad pastored at Mars Hill Presbyterian Church.
Really?
When Benny Monroe was a little bitty boy and Steve Spurrier was a little bitty boy, Benny told me at one time their paths crossed at Mars Hill Presbyterian, and I told Benny there must have been more than just the paths crossing. There must have been an aura or something there that crossed, because I've always thought that Benny and Steve Spurrier were very, very, very much alike in their offensive genius of coaching
and
football.
Like I say, the wing tee he ran there was just amazing.
Nobody did it better.
Now, Deb, we found in the some guy brought us some tapes, and they're of old Cleveland football games. And don't know where they came from. They were in cans, so we're going to get those put off. And
they're that 3/4 movies.
Yeah.
It's trying to find somebody to transfer. Ron, we got someone live on the air.
Oh, they're on?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know
that's
that.
why I was going like this to you, showing you the telephone. Sorry,
I thought
Lewis.
your finger was broke.
She's doing that sign language again.
Go ahead there, Lewis.
Hey, we've got Lewis Lee on there. Go ahead, Lewis.
How you guys doing?
We are great this morning.
Lewis, how well do you know?
Again,
Lewis, how well do you know Tommy Eason?
Too well.
I know. There's a guy.
Let me drive his Corvette. Let's put it that way. So how are you, Daryl? How's retirement treating you?
I'm loving it, Lewis. You ought to try it sometime. You've got a much better work ethic than me, though. I don't know if you can ever retire.
That's the truth.
He's living on the wild side tonight.
He worked for me at the cable company office. Are we talking about the same Lewis Lee?
It must be a different Lewis Lee. Yeah.
Hey, Ron, I remember you came to my office one day and said, "Are you real busy?" And I said, "Well, I'm a little bit busy." He says, "Grab your phone. It's opening day. We're going down to see the Braves." So,
yeah.
Don't talk to me about work ethic, Ron.
And then then we'd have to drive down to Dalton and check on things on the way back. There'd be a golf course run into us or something.
Yeah,
that's right.
These things happen.
You've got a film that is debuting today down at the film festival. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's called Outdoor Chattanooga. And a couple of years ago when I had my own morning radio show, I used to have Ruthie Thompson from Outdoor Chattanooga come on every Thursday morning, and she would talk and brag and evangelize about all the wonderful things that were going on in the outdoors around Chattanooga that coming weekend. And she just got me so fired up that I started kayaking. She invited me out to go kayaking along the Tennessee River right there downtown one Saturday morning. And I went out in a couple of weeks and bought my own kayak. And Denise, my wife, and I have been kayaking ever since. But the thing is Chattanooga has a lot of things going on. And the Outdoor Chattanooga organization used to be under the Department of Parks and Recreation, but it was a little different. Department of Parks and Recreation usually says, "Hey, come on and play in our city-owned parks and play in our city-owned recreation centers." But Outdoor Chattanooga, it's just 5 people full-time, and their job is to say, "Hey, go to Dade County and jump off a mountain, and go down the river." But it all makes sense because that they're probably going to come back to Chattanooga to visit the aquarium and stay in a hotel and eat at the Station House restaurant. So it works out for the city in the long run, sending them to these, outlying adventure destinations. So I said, this is such a great organization and such a great melding of public-private partnerships here that I really need to shine a light on this and let the whole world know that you can take what was the dirtiest city in America in the 1970s.
Remember that.
It certainly was. And look at it now. I mean, you walk downtown and the air is crystal clear. You've got all kinds of outdoor activities. You've got kayaking, hang gliding, rock climbing, bouldering, stand-up paddle boarding, just you name it, you can do it from here. And you do it in an environment that is just beautiful. It's a world-class story of reclamation of the environment. And so I just fell back on what I already knew, and that was video. I mean, I was a news reporter for TV for decades, so I was used to producing a little minute-and-a-half, 2-minute documentary every day, because that's what a news story is. It's a little minute-and-a-half documentary. So I grabbed my camera and started going with Ruthie to all these different events and all these different venues and started amassing all this video. And then I said, well, I've got to talk to the people who are responsible for this. So I called Senator Corker's office because all this really started during the Corker administration when he was mayor of Chattanooga. And he was very, very open and very helpful. He came down. I interviewed him at Renaissance Park. I got a hold of Mayor Littlefield, who was still mayor at the time, interviewed him on how he took Mayor Corker's idea and brought it to fruition. And then I even talked with Mayor Andy Burt about how things are going to progress in the future. He's taken Outdoor Chattanooga out of Parks and Recreation and put it into community and economic development because he sees it as an economic driver. And then I talked to a lot of people who, participate in the sports, people who just live in the area. I spoke with, well over a dozen people, shot 175 hours of video, and boiled it all down to a 24-minute documentary that's going to air tonight. It's going to screen tonight at the Lookout Wild Film Festival.
And tell us where that is and what time.
The Lookout Wild Film Festival started last night, and I went and saw some really interesting documentaries last night. Tonight, it's going to be, the doors open at 6:30. The films start at 7, and it's only $5 for the evening block of movies. They also have a block of movies that are, earlier this afternoon, about 1 o'clock. Same deal, $5, or you can pay $10 for the entire weekend. There's a block of movies that start at 1 o'clock this afternoon, another block of movies that start at 7 o'clock tonight, and another block of movies that start at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Now, this is at the Choo Choo.
This is at the Chattanooga Choo.
I was kind of excited about that because the parking's pretty easy there.
Yeah, they've opened up some more parking there, so it's a lot easier. And if you go to the Choo Choo, when you pull in that main drive, you've got the terminal building to the right, and then you've got that little guard shack in the middle of the road. Well, the Centennial Theater is that building just to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lewis, we're planning to come down tonight and see it, so we'll see you at the Choo Choo tonight about 6:30 then.
And you do have some DVDs of it for sale, right?
Yes, I'm going to have some DVDs with me in case you like it. You want to buy a copy, I'll be there.
Well, reserve one for me right now.
All right.
See you, Lewis.
Lewis, keep up the good work, my man.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you. Bye-bye. The good thing about Lewis, too, is that he's very talented.
Yes, he is.
And when we got bogged down in trying to edit our documentary, the good thing he did for us is came in, he watched a few minutes of it and said, guys, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to make it through this.
Since he stopped laughing, he really said it was really good. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron.
Hey.
Daryl, it's a pleasure to speak with you this morning.
Oh, hey, BJ.
Hey, BJ, how are you?
All right, hi. Dittoed everything Neil said earlier. I always enjoyed you so much, and yes, it was very obvious that you loved what you did.
Yeah, I did. I really did.
We saw it every time. In my opinion, you could have been the sportscaster, the major sportscaster for any big station anywhere in this country.
Well, I appreciate that. I never aspired to that. I never really wanted to do that. This was home. I wanted to stay close to home and put every bit of effort I had into what I was doing locally.
Exactly, and we knew that, and we were the fortunate ones that you felt that way.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So we all miss you, seeing you on News Channel 9, but I salute you on your retirement, or should I say freedom?
Freedom.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
BJ's enjoying her retirement, too.
Yeah, when it got time, BJ said, bye now.
I'm out of here.
She like 30 seconds having 30 years in.
Yeah, just about that. Okay.
Thank you, BJ.
Thank you.
Thank you, BJ.
Thank you.
How many managers and owners of the station did you go through?
When I went to work at Channel 9, the owner was J.B. Fuqua, who owned Martin Theaters, and a couple of other stations. Owned a station in Columbus, Georgia, and owned a station in Augusta, Georgia.
I only thought right there. Go ahead, Collie. You're live.
Yes, I need to ask Bill, who is Joe Engel?
Joe Engel was the original owner and developer of the Chattanooga Lookouts and built Engel Stadium. He was the local version of P.T. Barnum, I'm told. I never knew him, but he
knew how to put people in the stands.
He did. He gave had a house giveaway one night at a Lookouts game.
Yeah. Well, I have a little knife made like a ball bat. And he's got a saying on there, and then it says Joe Engel. And something when you're out, or something like that. Must have some kind of a saying.
When you're out, you're out. Huh. Very interesting.
That could be a very good collector item. If you have something.
Yeah, I didn't know. I figured he might have been something to do with the baseball.
He, to be honest, I don't know what else he did. I don't know how Joe made his money.
I don't know either.
So I don't. He didn't make it with a Lookout. You never make money really owning a minor league baseball team. But he was a promoter. Now he was a promoter. He used to. This was back in the days when teams traveled by train from spring training, and a lot of us that have been here for a long time remember the stories of the days that Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth came to and played, Harmon Killebrew and all of those others that used to play an exhibition game at Engel Stadium.
And Babe and Lou got struck out by Mitchell.
Yeah, Jackie Mitchell, Jackie Mitchell Gilbert. We did several stories on Jackie Gilbert too. It was that was that really happened, but it was a show. That they were supposed to get struck out by her, but that was a Joe Engel thing.
Yeah, I was wondering how old that little knife would be. Got to be more than 50 years.
Well, gosh, I don't know what year he originally brought the Lookouts to town. David Carroll would probably know.
Okay.
Luther
would be
Massengale at WDEF would definitely know, because Luther used to be the PA announcer for the Lookouts back in the day.
Okay, well, listen, I won't let you guys.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Let me ask you this question. Jim Smitty.
Yes, Coach Smitty.
What did you think about Coach Smitty?
Loved him.
He had one technical in 40 years or something.
He was such a good man. I know his son, who's a friend of mine that they own a UPS store up in Gatlinburg now. Bob and Marquita are good friends of ours. We met them through mutual friends, and Coach Smitty. Gosh, the teams that he had. Some of my other good friends and associates are Liz Hanna. Liz Turner Jackson, her husband, and Brittany, the daughter, and all that whole family means so much to me. Liz played on some of the Bradley teams that were so good that Coach Smitty had.
2 back-to-back undefeated seasons.
Yes, that's just, that's remarkable. I, of course, give Liz a hard time because That was back in pretend basketball when it was half court. You only had to play half court.
That's true.
That was
That's
the
true.
6 on 6.
I don't think it was for the whole 4
Brittany
years.
gives her a hard time about that, too. Brittany says, I had to run the entire court, Mom. You only had to run half the court.
I was at Bradley 68, 72, so Liz was young then, but I got to see a couple, what's her name, Debbie Varner and Ann Morton. Gosh, I can't think. She went on to coach at Cleveland High School. Oh, well, I can't think of her name now.
Morris.
Yeah.
Zandra,
thank you.
Zandra Owenby.
Zandra Owenby.
So you took 3 of us to remember all 3 of her names.
Well, didn't Corky Whitlock probably broadcast every one of those games?
Every game that ever and
WBAC.
Those are some great. And Coach Smitty was my homeroom teacher one year.
Really?
And now let me tell you, he was a very strict person. He was a boxer in the Navy.
Yep.
He played tennis at UT. And he would just be it was yes sir and no sir in his class. Fair, even guy, but he was that way in basketball too, very straight. And his record, which at one time he was the winningest coach in America. Someone has passed him, a couple people, but he never would count his boys' victories and his girls' wins or thing.
Right.
So go ahead and tell us the rest of the stations and people we went through.
Started again, J.B. Fuqua with Martin Theaters. He sold that company to Belo Broadcasting, which is headquartered out of Dallas, Texas, WFAA in Dallas. They sold the company to Freedom Broadcasting out of Anaheim, California. Freedom Bowl, there used to be the football game. That was the part of the Freedom thing. And then Freedom sold, actually Freedom went bankrupt. Freedom owned newspapers and TV stations both and had some financial problems, I think, with when the face of newspapers was changing. They got caught with a whole bunch of newspapers that were bleeding money, so they declared bankruptcy. Sinclair Broadcasting took over the station. I guess it's been 2 years ago now. Sinclair is headquartered out of the Baltimore area. They are, I think, probably the world's largest owner of television stations. They own more TV stations than anybody in the world. Now, they are the current owners. An interesting thing about some of the things going on at Channel 9, and this is, again, how the face of television is changing. Sinclair Broadcasting is going to hubs when it comes to, and I may get technical here, the way a TV station is run, you have a switcher on duty. The switcher is the one that runs the commercials and does that sort of thing. Some of the stations no longer have switchers. They are all switched by a switcher who is at 4279 Benton Drive in Chattanooga, Tennessee. When our station just went through, when Sinclair bought them, went through a vast remodeling in the engineering department where they put hubs in where a switcher sits and switches a station in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Another switcher switches a station in wherever and wherever. And my understanding is that Sinclair is going to do much more of that from Chattanooga, not necessarily from where Channel 9 is, but from a different location in Chattanooga in the years to come, possibly even to the degree of where they set up yet another television network, similar to ABC, NBC, and Fox. But that's who owns Channel 9 currently.
That's happening in the cable industry, too.
It is.
You used to have one head in.
Yep.
We have, when I worked for Charter here, I ran all the southeast area here. We have one main one in Dalton, the next one's in Kingsport.
Yep.
And everything switched. But I asked you that question for this question. It's amazing that you went through so many owners without changes and you stayed there so long.
Yeah.
That is that's tough to do. I mean,
it's the team thing and the family thing, and one I don't think overweighs the other, whether it be team. And I was doing, of course, in sports, so team was my big thing. I wanted to play for or be on a team that I liked and could be comfortable with and proud of, within a family that I liked. The general managers Reeve Owen was the general manager who hired me. Jane Dowden was our next general manager. Lewis Robertson, Jerry Lingerfelt, Mike Costa. So in 40 years, there's only been 4 or 5 different owners and 4 or 5 different general managers, and not that many news directors that I worked directly under in the chain of command of the pecking order. And all were very good, and all had strengths that were different from their predecessors. So it was a growing thing, but each one of them, I think, to their credit, saw and understood the talent, the strengths, and the weaknesses of the different personnel, people that they had. What is it they say, that the something is only as strong as chain's only as strong as its weakest link, and things being the total sum of their parts. Well, that's true in anything, and it's true in a TV station, in a news organization. When you're trying to inform, trying to let people know what's going on. And there's one thing that I might say in defense of news organizations, especially on a local scale. Over the past several years, television news has taken a hit, a serious hit, from viewers who are very critical of news reporters and news organizations who are only trying to fairly disseminate the news. No one ever told me what to put on the air, what to say on the air. To my knowledge, that has never happened on the local level. National level, I can't speak for Fox, CNN, ABC. I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that. Just consider when it gets to that level, to a national level, I always think of, consider the source. Everything on Fox News is not true. Everything on CNN is not true. It is slanted somewhat. The truth lies somewhere in the middle.
You're being very kind when you say slightly slanted.
Some more than others.
Yes.
On the local level, when you tune in and watch Channel 9, Channel 12, Channel 3, you're getting news.
I agree.
You're getting local news. Here's what happened in the community today. Cut those. I'm not a member of that team and that organization. Cut those people some slack.
I was really
I just had to get that off my chest.
Okay. You won't like every story that you do, and I was around when CNN was created.
Mm-hmm.
I was there in the early days of CNN and Headline News, and Headline News is not what it was when we created. It was a 30-minute news rotating. And
over and over.
If you want to know what the top story at the top of the hour or at mid-hour, or at 7 minutes after, you got weather at this. I was there. Our company owned the Weather Channel, so our purpose was to give you weather every 7 minutes.
Yep.
It was not very popular when we first started, but it was John Coleman from ABC
from ABC Chicago.
Yeah.
I was reminded.
Go ahead, Deb.
I'm sorry. I was reminded the other day how far reporting had come when there was someone actually driving in a vehicle and they're projecting live out the front the windshield the weather that was going on, and they were describing the accident that they were going to, and I'm thinking, boy, they've come a long way from having to have those giant satellite trucks.
You don't have to have that anymore. You have streaming live now. You can do it on an iPhone.
Yes.
Well, not just an iPhone, Samsung, any other kind of phone now. The technology is to the point where you don't have to have any of that anymore. You can put the phone live on the air. What we have now is, I know what they had at Channel 9, and this may have changed in 3 months. The streaming live, what they call, is simply a backpack that you carry. The camera is plugged into it, and the backpack is just that. It's a backpack like your kid would take to school.
Probably
a book
even
satchel, smaller. That's a battery-powered thing that makes a cell phone call, essentially. Mm-hmm. So it's not broadcast on microwave anymore, and it's not on satellite anymore. That's not necessary. It's streaming live. The only problem, the only irritating thing, as a professional standpoint for me on the other end, is the delay. Many times you will watch television, and if there is a live shot somewhere, you will hear the anchor in the studio talking to the reporter or the person they're interviewing, and they will ask them a question, and that person doesn't respond for 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. That's because there's a delay before that person actually hears the question. And on the streaming live, it can be anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds delay. That's the bad thing about the streaming live.
In the course of someone. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, call. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, I got one more question for Darryl, and as soon as I was asking, I'll hang up and listen to him. Darryl, you remember Harry Thornton, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
What did you ever think about him? Ron knows why I like Harry Thornton, but I'm going to listen to you talk about
Okay.
Ron was he was a Joe Engel type. He was a promoter. Nick Goulas, Roy Welch, really brought wrestling to the area. And Harry was
right there in the middle of it.
And he was a promoter. He was a promoter. Give the devil his due, as they say. He had a nice TV show in the morning with Judy Corn for a while. Harry was what do you call him? I don't. Renaissance man is not the right word, but he was somebody else that might, to some degree, might have been a little ahead of his time.
Oh, wait, he used to bring up things. He would argue about anything.
Oh, yeah, Harry would.
And he would bring up things on Tuesday morning, and on Wednesday morning, the Chattanooga Times was writing stories about it. And him and Judy were a great pair, and but he was that shock jock,
he was. He was an early Howard Stern,
Rush Limbaugh. He done that, and
which means you didn't have to do obscenities to get the shock in.
No.
I mean, he was just opinionated.
Well, that's back when you couldn't.
No, that's right. Darryl, in all these years, who did you interview that you were starstruck over? I mean,
Muhammad Ali.
Oh my!
Well, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, and that is one that I don't have. I can't prove it. I kind of sort of can. That was shot on film. Muhammad Ali was in town one night. Interesting story on that. I was at home eating dinner, and somebody from the TV station called and said, "The champ is in town." Right. Who's the champ? Muhammad Ali. No. Well, it was Cassius Clay. Oh, I guess he may have still been Cassius Clay at the time. Wow, that's but they said, no, he's seriously, he's in town. He and his entourage are at Lakeshore. They're having dinner. Go, I'm going to send a photographer who will meet you there. I want you to get an interview with him. Well, I stopped dinner right then, got in the car, went to Lakeshore, found out who the manager of Lakeshore was at that time, told him we were there to interview Ali, and he said, this is a private dinner. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm here to interview him. And he said, let me go check. So they went to check. His entourage manager said, no, we're not here to do interviews. They were in town. They had been to Dalton to look at and purchase prayer rugs, and were on their way. They were flying Chattanooga. They were on their way back to the airport in Chattanooga to fly out. Their entourage manager said, no, we're not doing any interviews. And I was persistent, and the champ said, no, let's do an interview. When you're in a small town like this, you need to talk to the people. I did about a 5, 6, 7 minute interview with Muhammad Ali, and you asked, blown away. I was absolutely blown away by that. It was on film. We archived all of the film up until the point where we went to videotape, after which at some point someone in our building, who will remain nameless because I don't really know who made the decision, decided that, well, we don't need this film anymore. It's more cost effective for us to have this melted down for the silver that's in the film. So my interview with Muhammad Ali, as well as all of the video that Channel 9 had of the Jimmy Hoffa trial and some of the other things, are in a silver bar somewhere in a bank. But that was, I say and have said forever, that was my most memorable interview. Tom Glavine was a great interview. Dale Murphy, great interview. So many of the guys on the Falcons, that I was able to go interview, people that I worked with on a professional level and got to be, better acquainted with and got to be friends with. Those are special people. The Tom Glavine, we used to go to Atlanta a lot of Braves games. I don't want to say that I got on a first-name basis with Tom Glavine, but it was someone I think that Tom recognized. I was at the World Series in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when they played the Twins, and I'm standing there by myself because we didn't send a crew, just me. We were working with the crew in Minneapolis, and I'm standing on the field of the Metrodome wondering who I was just literally told a minute or two before, you have your live block at 6:20 whatever. Who is your live guest? I was under the understanding that they were going to set that up. Then I found out I have to do this. I'm standing there in Minnesota like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got an hour, and I've got to find somebody to interview. About that time, or a couple of minutes later, Tom Glavine comes up and pats me on the back and says, hey, how's everything in Chattanooga? And I said, everything in Chattanooga is great. What are you going to be doing at 6:20? Could you go live on TV with me? Sure, I'll be happy to. Let's check with the PR guy. Tom yelled at the PR guy and says, can I do a live interview with Darryl here at 6:20? Sure, fine. Boom. Since that day, Tom Glavine has been my favorite all-time Brave.
Wow. He was very good. Go ahead, Collie. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Darryl, how are you today?
I'm wonderful.
Well, good. Chattanooga television is just not as good the last 3 months.
Well, thank you.
And I do have to agree with you when you talk about people like Benny Monroe and John Grubb. I personally know those men, and they're not just great coaches, great educators, they're great men.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And I have to agree with you. Cobb's knee was down.
Spoken like a true fan with some orange blood.
All of us do.
Flowing through his veins.
Anytime you cut me. 6 of the best years of my life spent in Knoxville.
All right, thank you.
Making a living, I'd still be there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, let me ask you about another guy. A friend of mine, Bill Price.
Bill
Price.
Is he not one of the best characters in the world?
Character. That's a perfect word to describe our buddy Bill Price. I
call him Popeye.
I covered Bill when he played at Red Bank.
Quarterback, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's Bill kind of tried to redefine that position of quarterback, probably.
Are you saying he wasn't any good?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying he went on to UTC, covered him there, and he's coached at every school in the area, right? I think so. No, LFO and probably Lookout Valley and Soddy Daisy and Bradley and
Signal Mountain
now at Signal Mountain. And Bill, he took a little hiatus, went to Alabama and coached for a while.
Winchester, County.
Bill's a builder, and he has done, in my opinion, a really good job everywhere he's gone of building a program. I think now at Signal Mountain and Bill, he's kind of long in the tooth now. I think we may see what Bill becomes as a builder and a sustainer. Building a great program and then sustaining that program for several years to come. And I think he might do that. I think maybe he's found a home at Signal Mountain. He's done a great job. Bill's another. If you can keep him and Partrick apart, you're much better off. Yeah.
When he was here at Bradley, we had 3 or 4 great years. Blake Morris had a 400-yard game one night, and we played Tom Weathers and Red Bank and a guy named Gerald Riggs. And we played. Weathers got through out of the stadium here at Bradley. Surprise.
Yeah.
We didn't arrest him here like they did in Soddy Daisy, though. But and they beat us that night. Then we played them in the 3rd round of playoffs. And Gerald Riggs just lit up the thing. But
Gerald turned it on that night.
Bradley was doing 9-3, beating people 60-0.
Yep.
So those were great years for Bradley. And then, of course, he was a team builder, like I say, and he left. Went to Coffee County and done very well over there.
Yeah, he's Bill's a good one. Bill's a really good coach. He's an innovator. He's a lot like Benny in some respects of the way he's definitely. Now, he's a bigger gambler during a ball game than Benny ever thought about being. Bill will go for a 2-point extra point conversion 1 minute into the game, thinking this might help me later on in a game that he winds up winning 70-0. And then after that 2-point conversion, he'll do an onside kick. He is that kind of guy. And with Bill cannot score enough points. That's why I always loved seeing Bill Price and one of his teams play South Pittsburgh and Vic Grider, because Vic Grider was out of that same mold as if I can score 70, I'm going to score 70. It was always a shootout when a Bill Price team played a Vic Grider team.
Bill would be on the 20, on his own 20, first downs on the 40, and his fourth down, and he'd go for it.
Oh, yeah, run or draw play probably.
Yeah.
And Bill would be seen on his hands and knees on the sideline, which was his position.
Barking like a dog.
Yes.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Ron, this is Bob Cat.
Hey, Bob. What you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. I'm enjoying your show this morning. Darrell is doing great. And I agree with the fellow that just called in a little while ago. The Chattanooga News and Sports is not the same without Darrell.
That's very kind. I do appreciate that. I think it is, but, maybe not.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
Okay, Bob. Good talking to you, buddy.
It's just different. I'll say this. Everybody is different. I had a style. I did, a thing that I did, and it worked. Dave Staley is a really good friend of mine. Dave and I play golf together, hang out together, and have been for a long time. And the Channel 9 right now is going through an evolutionary process, as all TV stations are, on how they cover sports. What are we going to do with our sports coverage? It's going to be interesting to see where the bean counters and others who make the decisions take sports coverage on local TV stations in the future. And as Forrest Gump once said, that's all I got to say about that.
Bean counters, right. I'm going to give you one final story about Bill Price, and I'm going to ask you about Tom Weathers. Bill Price, one night we were at Oak Ridge, Bradley playing Oak Ridge, which is always a tough game.
Yes.
Bradley's on the 20, and he sends out his field goal kicker. Not Oak Ridge's 20, Bradley's 20. He sends out the field goal kicker, and, of course, Oak Ridge says this has got to be a fake. Well, the situation was Bradley had no punter. They had a field goal kicker who could get 60 yards. So, they put
and it's a free kick.
Yeah, so, but the guy got injured on the play. He got his knee popped, but can you imagine everybody in the stand? Oak Ridge calls timeout. They're going to kick a field goal from their own 20. Well, that was Bill Price.
Yes.
Talking about a gambler, but actually, that's the only thing he could do. Tell me about Tom Weathers. Tom Weathers, I don't know, how long was he at Red Bank? Was it 30 years? A long time
I'm trying to remember
I don't remember when he started.
Tom was probably coaching at Red Bank when I went to work at Channel 9, or shortly thereafter. And Tom coached up till the year after they won the state championship, and then he retired
from Tennessee.
Went to Dade County, coached at Dade County for a couple of years, and then back to Soddy Daisy, and has had some health problems since. Tom was at Red Bank for a long time, and Tom's one of those perfect Southern gentlemen who he is tough as nails.
Oh, he was
tough as nails,
and great
really
programs for 30 years.
Yeah.
And of course, I said that one night at a Soddy Daisy Red Bank game, which was always contentious, I guess would be that they arrested Tom Weathers that night. I don't think they finally dropped the charges, but I know
Bill. That's when Bill was coaching at Soddy, probably, and Bill
I don't remember if Bill was there. It may have been. I don't know. But I remember that I watched it on the news.
Yeah, that's some of the railbirds who those are, if you're going to a high school, listen, take this from somebody that covered high school football for 40-plus years. If you're going to a high school football game, put your butt in the stands, yell and scream as loud as you want to, but stay in the stands, stay off the field. Amen. Don't be a railbird on the side yelling, cussing at the coaches and the players. These are 16 and 17-year-old kids out there. Leave them alone. I think that's probably what happened at Saudi that night. Some of the railbirds got onto Coach, and he took as much as he could. And at the end of the game, things kind of got out of hand on both ends. And there was some pushing and some shoving, and he was not at Red Bank. He was at Saudi Daisy.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like what happened many, many years ago at the Cleveland-Bradley football game, and why Cleveland and Bradley didn't play each other for 8 or 10 years is because the fans got in the way. Be a fan. I'm all for being a fan. You will not find, because I went to McMinn County High School, I'm a big McMinn County Cherokees fan. I haven't been to a McMinn Cherokees ball game of any kind in 40 years because my work kept me from going, but I'm still a big fan. I am a huge Tennessee Volunteer fan. I grew up in Big Orange Country. But now the team I go to and support is the Chattanooga Mocs, because that's a team that I covered more than any other over the years. And, oh, by the way, the Lady Mocs play at 1:30 this afternoon at the NCAA tournament. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the Lady Mocs beat the Lady Vols last year. Oh, by the way, the football team is having a great turnaround success. And I have preached this to everybody in this area. Go support the UTC sports program. It is very, very good. It's Ron Shoemate back in the day used to call it a sleeping giant, and it is and still is. Will Wade has done a heck of a job with the men's basketball program. What I'm saying is I'm a big fan. I don't go yell, I don't go scream, not at the coaches, not at the players, not anything. Your ticket, when you buy a ticket, that gets you into the game. That does not give you the right to verbally or physically assault or coach anybody. It's kind of like, back in the day, I used this phrase one time. I was doing a live shot from a football game, and I'll tell you which football game it was. And now I'm back in television right now, folks. I'm standing here and I'm preaching to you, just like I did at Channel 9 many years ago. I was doing a live shot from Knoxville after the Tennessee-Arkansas game, the year that Tennessee won the national championship. Clint Sterner had just put the ball on the ground. Tennessee had recovered, gone down for a touchdown. I'm doing a live shot outside of Neyland Stadium, surrounded by a couple of hundred fans that were yelling and screaming, which was fine until they shoved and gotten to the point where they are invading my space, which bothered me for security reasons or otherwise. I'm trying to do my job, and I can't even hear in my ear what my producers and the people back at the station are telling me, which I have to hear in order to go on the air. So I turned around to these fans, and I said, where do you people work? Because on Monday, I'm coming to your work, and I'm going to bother you while you're working. Leave me alone. I'm working. You could have heard a pin drop after that. It's the same way, in my opinion, with a football game, a basketball game, or anything else. These coaches are doing their job. These players are doing their job. Leave them alone. Let them do their job. They practice all week for these ball games. Leave them alone. Let them play them on Friday night.
I want to say one other UTC mock, Heath Esslinger, the wrestling mock.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Top 20 every year.
Oh, yeah.
Great program.
He's excellent. So proud of him.
A lot of former Bradley Cleveland wrestlers, Saudi Daisy.
Yeah.
All the guys we all grown up with. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, Ron.
Hey,
Good morning, Brenda.
How are y'all doing this morning?
Oh,
Great.
we're good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been listening and really enjoying the broadcast. And hello, Daryl.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
You and Don Welch are the reason that I watched Channel 9, because when I was a teenager, I was walking through the den, and they were playing a little clip of you, Bob Johnson, and Daryl walking side by side, and y'all had bell bottoms on.
Probably smoking a pipe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I put my thumbs up at the TV. I thought, they're cool. And that's the first time I'd ever sit down and watch the news with my parents, and I've been watching it ever since.
He still has those bell bottoms.
Ron is looking for that picture now, which is probably on my Facebook page. Yeah, that would have been 74, 70, 75, 76. When I went to work at Channel 9, the day I went in is the first day I met Bob Johnson. Bob had come in for a final interview, and they had hired him. Now, Bob didn't go on the air until a couple of months later, but Bob and I became quick friends. Like I said, I was already friends with Don and knew him, and I recommended to our general manager, Jane Grams, at the time. Don was working in Channel 3, and I said, call Don, hire him, get him over here. And this was the days before contracts, so you didn't have a non-compete or anything, so she went and hired Don away from Channel 3 and put the three of us together. And it was like a chemistry that we had that just, I mean, it worked. It worked. We were early Ron Burgundy, I guess. We must have been. But I remember what you're talking about, the promos that we shot. They took us to They took us to Athens. They took us to South Pittsburgh. There was a lady that they hired who was carrying groceries, and she dropped her groceries, and we picked them up for her. There was a cat that Bob got off a roof. We were all standing out front of Hammer's general store over in South Pittsburgh, all smoking a pipe. I didn't even smoke a pipe. Bob and Don did, and they bought me a pipe and showed me how to hold it, how to pack it, and how to smoke it, because that was what you did back then.
Tell us about this picture we got up on the screen. What year is that?
That would have been all of you watching on the webcam now. That picture that's the afro and the beard. There was an afro without a beard.
And the beard.
There was with and without the beard. There was the beard with the straight. I used to have this thing where when I would take vacation, and this would have been late 70s, early 80s, I would go on vacation and come back with a different look. I would curl my hair, or I would straighten my hair. I would grow a beard, or I'd shave the beard off. I'd do something when I went on vacation, when I took my vacation every year. One year, now that hair is not naturally curly. That cost me a lot of money.
A lot of pain.
And one mistake I found out about permanents back then, you don't put a permanent in your hair on a Saturday morning and then drive to Florida and stay out in the sun for an entire week with that permanent on your hair. Your hair will turn orange, which mine did. So I had to have my hair straightened when I got back home, and that was the end of the curl. And as they say, the rest is history.
Anything else, Brenda?
No, I just want him to know he's the reason I want.
Thank you, Brenda, so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I agree.
Ron, can you guess what next week's show is?
No.
I can't either because we don't have one yet.
We got May full, but we don't have next week. That happens constantly.
But we do have a really good show coming up on April the 19th. We have Mrs. Tipton from Tip Top Food Mart coming in to talk to us about the old days downtown, and I know our listeners are going to love her.
We got Mr. Nicely coming in from Chattanooga, who's going to talk about underground Chattanooga.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great story.
We got May shows. We just don't have one for next week, but we'll have one.
Go ahead, Carl. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron and Debbie. One time I dyed my hair either red or brown. Guess what color it turned out to be?
Oh, not red or brown, I'm sure. What did it do?
It was green.
You were just setting a new style to come, Miss Ella.
That was it.
You know what the store told me? It said, just in time for Halloween.
Oh,
Well, you can go to the mall and find people like that every day now.
Cyndi Lauper and Pink would have loved you.
All right. Thank you.
Miss Ella.
One last quick question. You talk about contracts that did you actually work for the station? Let's get this call here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Good morning. You got live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron and Debbie, this is Arnold. How's everything?
Hey, Arnold, how are you?
Arnold, how are you?
I just had to call in and tell Daryl thanks for all the work he did for all the years.
Thank you. Thank you.
This Arnold is a sports fanatic. He probably remembers every broadcast you did.
Well, it's folks like Arnold that kept me going. I mean, knowing that you guys were out there watching and digging what I did, that's what made me go on.
Well, I didn't miss very many shows, but I always did miss the ones where McMinn County beat Brady or Cleveland.
we missed those on purpose, didn't we, Arnold?
Those.
There was one game that I did want to see Daryl announce. He always had a little bit bigger grin than.
Well, I always had a big grin on my face when McMinn beat Bradley. Yeah.
Or McMinn beat Cleveland when Benny was there.
Which didn't happen. Yeah. Never happened. Never happened.
Okay, I'll get out of here and let y'all finish up.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
You work on a contract, though. I mean, is this like? Were you considered a contract employee or an employee?
It was a contract up until the last few years, and then it became what they call a personal services contract, which an attorney would have to explain the difference. Yeah. I don't have any idea what it was, but it was as the station progressed with different owners that were more involved in nationwide on several stations across the nation. They had a standard contract that all of their anchor people, not everybody, reporter contracts were a little bit different than anchor contracts were because of the wording and the non-compete, and that kind of stuff. But it was a standard work agreement, standard personal services contract. They were actually buying your talents for a period of time. Normally it was 3 years to 5 years on the contract.
Yeah. The cable company here in Cleveland was owned by Landmark Communications one time. The Virginia Pilot Ledger Star, Channel 5 out of Nashville, Greensboro, Las Vegas. So I got to learn a lot about that side of the business. And Mr. Batten, who was the owner of Landmark Communications, told me that the biggest workman comp issues he had in all of his newspapers and television and radio and cable was news reporters. He said they'd be looking through those viewfinders with the camera and walk off into a ditch or fall down on ice or run into a trailer hitch and tear their knee up. And
well, it's in the reporter and the photographers in television, just think of, they have to go where the news is.
Yes.
That could be a fire, that could be a wreck, that could be ice, that could be something else. There are risks, and most of these reporters and photographers carry 1 or 2 changes of clothes in the trunk or somewhere in their car because they go to work and they never know where they're going to wind up that day, and if they may have to spend the night somewhere. You normally always – I did for a long time until I quit going on the road so many places. And you literally never know where you're going or what the danger is there.
Well, we always say, where has the time gone? That 2 hours passed very quickly.
We have to stop.
Yeah.
Do you have any final comments?
Thank you, folks. I really, I've said this 2 or 3 times during the show. I appreciate you guys having me today. I appreciate the invitation. Call me. I'll come back. If I'm not playing golf, I'll come back anytime.
Yeah. So warm weather, you're out, right?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah. But I've enjoyed doing this. I don't have any trouble talking. Not at all. I can talk forever till the cows come home. All the people that have called today and the other people who are listening, when I said a while ago that you guys are the reason that I did what I did, that's true. If I had gone to work today or when I was going to work and was just doing what I did without any thought at all of the people on the other side of the TV screen, I'd have quit a long time ago. And I'll say this in closing, and it's a story that I've told before. When I moved from radio, which, again, I was in for 10 years before I got into television. When I moved from radio to television, I had a consultant tell me there's not a whole lot of difference. You have a microphone, you have things to say. The difference is you have a camera now that you're talking into. Don't ever see that as a camera. Look into the camera and address it as someone that you are talking to, and tell that person a story, what you have to say. So now my younger brother Panky is in Indianapolis visiting his granddaughter and daughter this weekend, so I know he's not listening unless he may be online or something. But Panky, if you are, I love you. I have always seen that camera as Panky. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to Panky in every show I did, because my whole thing was, if I can get Panky to understand this, anybody can understand it.
Talking about great schools, MTSU has a great film school now. I mean, television's really great, and probably the best in the South, I think.
One of.
And maybe you ought to go teach there, because you just need to tell that lesson to all these young reporters, and they'll do a lot better.
Yeah.
Folks,
guys, go out and see the Convertibles tonight at the American Legion. Be sure go out and see Fro. The Convertibles.
And then the outdoor film fest, outdoor Chattanooga at the film fest down at the Choo Choo. Go down there. It starts at $5 to get in, at 6 o'clock. I think Lewis filmed it scheduled around 8. And as always, we tell people, we said mentioned a little earlier, is that it's time for you to go find those pictures out from the shoe boxes and under the closet drawers and under the bed, and get out and talk to your grandparents, grandmother, your aunts, uncles, and get their stories sit down. Everybody's got some kind of recording. Your cell phone does excellent videos now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Record it. Yes. I would give anything if I had conversations that I had with my mom and my dad when they were alive that I had recorded and kept.
I've got it. My cousin recorded my grandfather, and it's one of my great things. You got to do that.
Yes.
We'll always remember about Pearl Harbor, but Deb,
we may not remember Aunt Pearl.
That's right. So write those down, and it's not history until you write it down. We'll see you again next week here on Old Town Cleveland.
Bye-bye.
If I can find the button.
Push it twice.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it on north of here in the shopping mall.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
You need money overnight?